Hey everybody, welcome to Sew with Joe. Today we're picking up where we left off last time, working on my blanket project, starting with the t-shirt side of the blanket project, and we're going with the Uncle Bob's Peculiar Vehicular Extravaganza patch first. Was a t-shirt, now a patch. So let's get into it and get on with our good world news. There's lots of it today. Get some thread on our big couch needle. Continuing with the large spool of red thread. I've actually gone through quite a bit of it already, just doing the base. So it'll be interesting to see if there is actually enough thread on that spool to finish this. I'm always amazed at how much goes into projects. Like I was building a shed. I should say I built a shed this last fall. And went through over 1,100 screws. Over 1,100 screws, and I'm not done yet. And it's only an 8x10 shed. Amazing how much material and thread and screws and things go into projects. It's pretty wild. Cheers. Alright, let's get that first stitch in. Start spreading the good world news. Our first story. I've got a bunch of... It's a collection of short stories today. The California Condor. Back in the 1980s, there were only 22 of them left in the wild. So conservation went out and decided that they needed to be saved, and they decided that there was no way to save them in the wild due to their large habitat, their large range, and just would make it impossible. So they captured all 22 of them. They captured every California Condor that wasn't already in captivity. And they started a breeding program. And it's amazing what people will do for animals, because in order for these chicks to be reintroduced to the wild, they needed to be hand-fed by puppets, making the same noises as their parents usually would, and they would have to never see a human. Just to replicate exact conditions for how they usually would be in the wild. So just imagine having them in such a way that you could never have them have a direct line of sight on you, and all interaction would be done with condor puppet heads. I'm not even sure how they would do that, like if they would have to have a TV monitor under the nest, and then the person puppeting would reach up and watch themselves so they knew what they were doing. and feed these chicks. It boggles the mind to how dedicated these people are. It's amazing to hear about. So all the chicks that were raised in captivity were released, and it sounded like their success rate was quite high. And over the years, the California Condor population has come back up, and while now there are over now there are roughly 350 of them. Sorry, I stumbled over myself trying to figure out how to put that sentence together for a second there. Don't know how well I did. And so 350 in the wild now, up from 22 in the past 40 years, and that's a good progress. And hopefully they can continue to multiply and breed in the wild. It's amazing how huge these raptors are. They're some of these big birds are like 8 feet tall. If you can imagine that, 8 feet tall. Never mind their wingspan. So almost no wonder that they were eradicated, because they would have been tormenting farmers, eating up all the young. So yeah, these condors would have been a major nuisance and an easy target. When they're that big, they're a lot easier to shoot. So I can see as soon as farmers decided that they wanted rid of them, because they kept seeing their cattle probably being, or their calves being picked up and taken away by these giant birds. And in all seriousness, back then, they were probably worried about them taking off with their children as well, because that happens. We are meat. We are meat to animals. And as awesome as they are to conserve, they will still eat us if we give them the chance. You know, nature does have its rights. Just got to make sure that, you know, this is where the problem came in, is that the rights of the animals were interfering with the rights of the people. And that's when issues happen, when there's the overlap, and people, when it comes down to it, people survive. We do what we have to. And I don't blame our ancestors for killing these animals. I don't. I think they should be shamed maybe for overhunting to the point that they did. But when something is considered a threat, it's understandable. But thankfully, they are making a comeback. They are protected. And yeah, hopefully they will continue to do well. Just keep them away from people, and they'll have a much better chance of survival. And that's why there are so many conservation areas and so many protected lands, and it's just to keep people away from animals, because we will destroy things. It's just our nature. Not everyone's nature, of course, but like I say, when it comes down to it, people survive. Now we've had, to completely switch gears, we've had a Guinness World Record set for the oldest living land animal, and its name is Jonathan. And Jonathan is a giant Seychelles tortoise. In case you want to look it up, it's Seychelles. Seychelles. And Jonathan, the giant Seychelles tortoise, is estimated, conservatively estimated, to be 190 years old. It is fairly generally accepted that he would be older than this. However, there is no way to prove it. And Guinness needs landmarks. They need definitive evidence. So Jonathan has been in captivity since 1882. And when he was brought to his current location in 1882, it was as a gift to the then governor of the island of St. Helens. And Jonathan was already fully mature in 1882, and the giant Seychelles tortoise only becomes fully mature at age 50. So 1882, Jonathan would have had to be 50, at least, if not older. And that's what they're using as their gauge for his age. And it must be, accepted scientific fact that they are only mature at age 50, and it would also have to be accepted fact that he was mature, and would have had to been documented that he was mature, and probably would have had record of that somewhere on St. Helens with Jonathan, possibly. Spinning is not going quite as I had hoped. Need to have a little bit more of an overlap for this hem. Guaranteed I'm going to end up sewing this to my pants at some point in time. Alright, so Jonathan is still healthy, and still mating, so still healthy in that way. Unfortunately, he is blind and no longer has a sense of smell. But for 190, 200 years old, still moving, everything's still working. That's pretty darned impressive. And like I say, he's been in captivity for a long, long time. 1882, so 140 years. And that makes sense. 140 plus the 50 maturity would be the 190 years, potentially plus. Now, cheers. I was thinking, since they are on an island, and you know, I don't know, it must be expensive to keep a tortoise. If they ever need to do some fundraising, what they could do is they could have Jonathan sell Seychelles by the seashore. You know, the Seychelles tortoise, selling Seychelles by the seashore. You can always tell a joke is really bad when you feel the need to explain it to everyone. This is the interesting part about doing videos on YouTube. You have no idea if anybody else laughed when you said something, or if it was just like eye rolls and groans. And even at that, I'd be happy. Make a person roll their eyes and groan at me. It's just as good as if they laugh, I think. Anyway, now for something completely different. A lot of people game online these days, especially with being inside a lot more than usual. And so that's becoming the new social networking, and apparently in the year 2021, the average person, the average gamer, made 5 new friends through online gaming in 2021. I never thought about that, you know, until a friend of mine. He is, I wouldn't say big into gaming, but he plays some stuff and he's pretty good. And I was watching him on his channel it was on Twitch, to even further date my content. And he was playing with a partner. It was a two player, and this was a guy that he had met online, and they just started gaming together. You know, they'd be online, and you know, I guess they both thought each other was pretty good, and you know, similar sense of humor and that sort of thing. And you know, not someone they're probably gonna meet, but still a contact, a friend, someone out there. You know, it's that dynamic of the new social network, I find, is very interesting. People spend so much time on the telephones and on social media. It makes sense that you would meet some people exclusively online. Like I keep getting people adding me on social media that I don't know. And some of them are really, really obviously fake accounts. So Well, I delete all of them, and I'm just starting to wonder if maybe I should actually start replying. There's so many scammers out there and everything, I don't really want to get into that. And this is where we're getting into the world of virtual socializing, and I think that's going to be the next big thing, and it's starting. It's coming. Cheers. Virtual reality allows us to interact with people around the world instantly, face to face. And how can you not go for that when your face-to-face interactions are being limited? It makes sense, you know. I've always been kind of cautious about touching surfaces and door handles and that sort of thing. So I can see the benefit to getting together online rather than in real life for that aspect. It'd be like the movie Ready Player One, I think it was called, where people basically live in a virtual world and they just plug in every day. And I can see this happening. It was basically not a post-apocalyptic world, but a world that's economically collapsed. But you can still get like people living in vans stacked one on top of each other. But you've got a high-speed connection and your VR. And that's it. That's all you have, you know. And I can see it happening. The one very positive thing about that is VR gaming or VR worlds, and people who are either too old or otherwise unable to get around to do things. I've heard that VR systems in seniors' homes are incredibly popular because people can get around and socialize. They can go out and do things. They can see things that they've never seen before. Cheers. And it is totally immersive. Like, I've seen videos where people are in VR and they'll like dive right into a wall, you know, because their experience is what's happening in the game and not what's in reality. And when your body still reacts, it's like when you wake from a dream and your body is doing things that have nothing to do with what's around you, you know. they're going to be in this constant dream state. And it'll just replace their reality. People will have to, or the programming, I guess, will have to be such that you'll do a certain movement and you'll do a certain reaction in the game or something like that. Like, it'll have to plug into your something like artificial limbs, so that they know what the twitch means, and that'll translate into movement in the game, because people will just hurt themselves if they keep going like this. And I think that's the way that Facebook is going, with this whole meta thing. It's going to be that online community connected and turned into a virtual community called Meta. And we'll all just be connected virtually. I just can't imagine the debates, the way people treat each other on social media. It's pretty brutal. I hope that wouldn't translate over into the electronic environment as well. But who knows? I notice this episode's getting kind of long, so I think I might end with this topic. Same one we're on. 'Cause it's very interesting to me, and I really do think it's the future. Just people existing on a different plane. Like, I play online games, and you just completely zone into what you're doing, right? You are in a different time and place for that time. And if that can become your entire social network, the way that you do your social networking, go on there and interact with people in that way. And I think it's really neat that the way that movies and television and that creativity has been a precursor to technology, because people will see what the creatives come up with and what they can put onto a screen, and the scientists and the investors can get together and make it happen. It's almost like a think tank system, but not on purpose, if that makes any sense. It's like what of all of these sci-fi conjurings can we actually turn into a reality? Well, I think I'm going to call that an episode for today. I've rambled on and on and on about a few topics here, so I had a whole page of stuff, and I made it about halfway through. So we'll continue on next time with all the rest of my notes here. And yeah, carry on with my day. I've got a fair bit to do today, and we'll get back into this in the next episode. So, recap what we did today. From here to here, not nearly as neat and tidy as from here to here. And we have to refocus a little bit. Oh yeah, okay. As I was going around the corner, I haven't been able to figure out how to rebunch everything. So I'll sort all that out yet. And this is part of the learning process. And like I say, it's for me. And I'm probably going to have like patches overlapping patches, so I can like cover up the bad spots. Yeah. Alright, well, thanks so much for joining me. I do really appreciate the time we get to spend together. And, yeah. Till next time, keep chillin'. Don't forget your cookie. Peace.